This is the annual meeting of the Woodmoor Improvement Association. And as you can see by the slide up there, I'm privileged to serve with this great group of volunteers who are really your board of directors, officers and directors. A couple of administrative things. This meeting is being Zoomed and it's being recorded. So if the people on Zoom have some kind of technical difficulties, hopefully you can pick it up on the recording. There'll be a slide at the end that says questions. However, if you are in this room and you have a question as we go through, please feel free to ask it. If you are on Zoom, please ask your question in the chat box and Matthew will relay it to me, but probably not till the very end of my presentation. If you have a technical issue, please also put that in the chat box and Matthew will figure out a way to adopt that. And my great thanks to Matthew, our technical wizard, for doing this. Okay, I apologize in advance. Usually we try to arrange a horrendous snowstorm for the night of the annual meeting. We missed it by a day. Darn it all to heck. So what can I tell you? If you want to stay around till tomorrow, it'll probably be snowing like crazy. All right, next slide. Unfortunately, last year, because of the pandemic, we had to cancel our annual meeting. As an exception to policy, I approved the minutes from the 2020 meeting, as opposed to having this group approve the minutes. And obviously, I can't ask this group to approve minutes for the 21 meeting because we didn't have a 21 meeting. We did post the slides of this presentation on the website for 2021. This presentation will also be posted on the website for anybody who wants to sleep very well at night and wants to use this as, you know, kind of an aid at 10 o'clock at night. Okay, next slide. We have a quorum. Requires 10% of our eligible members of the association. We have exceeded that by a goodly amount. I think we had, last I checked, about 862 ballots. So we have a quorum. We'll be able to elect directors. I'm going to, and I want to thank the residents for printing ballots. They were postage paid, so that was kind of nice you did that. I'm going to change the order just a little bit, and I'm going to ask, because there were 3 people who nominated themselves. They had to nominate by the 30th of November. We had to send out ballots on the 4th of January. Ballots are due by the end of tonight and will be counted by the League of Women Voters, our good friends, tomorrow, if it's not snowing like crazy. And they will notify Rick DePaiva, who's going to be certifying the election results. And he'll notify me and I'll notify those people who were running. However, any member of the association has the right to nominate themselves or anybody else from the floor at this meeting. Is there anybody who wishes to do so? I will explain how you would cast a ballot for that person if you wish to. Okay, I see no hands, so we'll move on. If you haven't cast a ballot yet and you still want to, there's some blank ballots in the back with the League of Women Voters. Feel free to use those. Next slide. This is what we do for you. This is what we do for ourselves. This is the mission of the Woodmoor Improvement Association. We enforce our covenants with the help of all of our members. We have an ACC, an Architectural Control Committee, chaired by Pierce Sewer, that approves projects, and you'll see how many of those we do, and it's a considerable number, particularly during the pandemic when everybody was at home and decided that, hey, Home Depot's got stuff on sale, which is a big part of our mission. We have, depending on how you count, 144, 156 acres of common area, and we maintain that so that you can enjoy that. We try to improve that so you can enjoy that. And I'll show you some pictures later of things that we've done very recently that you can't see now because they're under snow. And you probably won't be able to see them for a couple of weeks anyway. And the last thing is we have public safety. And I'll give a shout out to them, and I'll talk a little bit more about them later. But that's really, anecdotally at least, one of the best values that we have for our membership. They patrol every street every 48 or 72 hours. And again, anecdotally, it's one of the reasons why we don't seem to have as many problems as some of our surrounding areas and neighborhoods. Our guys carry guns. They're not law enforcement officers, but they carry guns and they respond to your emergency, and you'll see some of the stats on that. Next slide. These are your board of directors. Tom Smith is on that list because Tom Smith is still currently director, although he'd be voted out of office here in about 12 hours. And Cindy, are you here? Ah, there you are. And Cindy will undoubtedly be voted into office, and we'll decide at some meeting later what position she will actually take. So these are the people who volunteer their time and their talents. And in some cases, it's a considerable amount of time, and it's always a considerable amount of talent to do the business of the association. And you can look at our budget online, but it's a little over $1 million a year operation. So that's pretty big. Next slide. This is our staff. We're very fortunate that they've been with us for a very long time, most of them. I got to shout out to one guy. Where's the chief? Oh, there he is. Hi, Chief. Okay, so you'll notice that the chief's name is in red. Why is the chief's name is in red? Because the chief completed more than 30 years of service to the Woodmoor Improvement Association last fall. And Director Gleason didn't figure it out until afterwards, but we did reward him sufficiently. All right, Chief, way to go. And we have one officer who's going to be leaving. We'll be hiring a new officer. So we have 8 full-time officers. Next slide. Okay, that's interesting. There we go. All right, I'm ready for the booze. Everything has gone up. Everything has gone up. We all know that. So we increased your dues by $8. We're going to keep it on round numbers to $275. In my opinion, not that my opinion counts for anything, it's a pretty good deal. A lot of HOAs pay that much every month. So the top 3 incomes: dues, new construction fees, which we've had a pretty good year last year, and we look like we're going into a pretty good sized building phase in the next 2 or 3 years. So those project fees are going to come to us as well. And barn and office rentals. This is your barn. These are your offices. We make them available to our residents and our members, but you don't use it all the time. So as good fiduciary stewards of the money that you entrust to us and the facilities that you entrust to us, we rent it out when we can. We make a fair amount of money doing that. We rent the offices downstairs when we can. COVID was not helpful to barn rentals, and COVID was not helpful to office rentals, but it seems to be kind of coming back. Whether that's pandemic fatigue or people just want to party, I don't know. We challenged our staff to hold down expenses during the pandemic, and they did a great job of doing that. We were under budget in expenses, and so we were able to turn a reasonably small surplus that we're going to allocate at the next board meeting that we have. And then the expenses that you see there: payroll, common area improvement and maintenance, wildfire mitigation, and Woodmoor public safety. Next slide. Okay. We have a very healthy reserve fund. We're required to do that. It will pay for all of the things that need to be replaced that are permanent. Like, well, they're not all permanent, but like vehicles for our Woodmoor public safety people, or sidewalks, or chairs, or tables, or paint, or windows, roofs, or whatever. That's around, give or take, $500,000. We take that very seriously to manage that. Denise, our HOA administrator, was kind enough to do a reserve study for us this last year, looking out about 30 years to make sure we have enough money to do all the things that we think we might have to do. That's really a good news. We didn't spend anything out of the reserve in 21. I made Chief drive an old Jeep because he keeps wrecking the other one. All right, next slide. You've seen this slide before. This is what Woodmoor Public Safety does for you. There's something else that they do as well, and that is they do commercial checks. So we sort of kind of rent them out to surrounding businesses who want to pay for their services, as long as they don't detract from what they do for our residents. That's priority number one. What am I talking about? Well, the Water District, the Ascent Church, some of the folks in the Woodmoor Mall, some of those. So we write contracts with them. We renew those every year. Next slide. See, I didn't understand this one. How can you have 9,000 vacation checks when all of you were supposed to be staying home? I got a feeling that, you know, Kevin and his guys were just coming by for cookies and pizza, but I can't prove that. Anyway, that's a significant effort and it's a significant benefit. You know, these guys get out there, they don't care what the weather is. They'll track in snow and cold and whatever to go check your house to make sure that nothing is untoward, nothing's unlocked. And if it is, we'll find a way to lock it up or get in contact with you, and our guy will stay there. The other thing they do, they respond when we get a call from the Colorado State Patrol, or we get a call from the Monument Police, or we get a call from Palmer Lake, or we get a call from whoever. If we get a call, then they'll respond, and that's one of the things we've done now on the prior slide. We've got radio connectivity, first alert on all of those people, so we can talk to the fire guys, we can talk to the police, we can talk to everybody. So we can be there when something happens, and we have been. You know, we've saved some lives. This group has saved some lives, not us. Next slide. All right, this is my favorite slide. You'll see later. You all do a great job of resolving covenant issues. 99.5 or more % of everyone tries to meet us more than halfway when we point out something that violates our covenants. And covenants are things that can't be changed by the board. So we have covenants, we have rules and regulations, and we have a project design standards manual, which governs operations within our footprint. So most of the time, you know, we'll send out or give a notice concerning a covenant violation. And most of the time, somebody will respond and say, let me fix that. So what's an example? Tall grass letters. You know, tall grass is just not good. It burns. So we send, what, 380 letters? And guess what? About 90+% of the people said, yeah, I'll go out and cut my grass. No problem. Or I'll hire somebody to do it. And that's what we appreciate. Barking dogs, we have a lot of those. We routinely tell our residents, we can't tell you what to do to control your barking dog. This board's just not going to do that. We're not going to say get a bark collar or whatever. What we'll tell you is you have to solve that problem because your neighbors, who are usually the ones who have let us know there's a barking dog problem, are entitled to the quiet enjoyment of their house and their property. And if your dog is disturbing that, then we have a problem. And it's not just a snap of the fingers and okay, we come out. You know, if we get a complaint, Kevin and his guys go out, they go away, they stand there for about 10 minutes and listen and see if they can hear the dog. And if they can hear the dog for 10 minutes straight, we have a problem. And you'll get a violation. And you either fix it or you come before all of these gentlemen and ladies here, and then we fix it. Okay. You saw, I already talked about how good you are at resolving these, I'm going to make one plea. It's a pet peeve of mine. When your garbage has been picked up for the day, would you please take your garbage bins back in? I mean, it makes the neighborhood look trashy, in my opinion. We'll put a little yellow sticker on there trying to remind you from time to time. But it would be really helpful if you could just wander down to the end of your driveway at the end of the day and bring your trash can in. 99% of people do that. The other 1% of the people can leave it there for a week or two. And I've even got out of my car and rolled the bin up to the garage door just because I get so frustrated with this. So that's why it's in yellow. Please help us out. Next slide. This is what we did this year. Bob and the committee, 764 projects. Those were the two biggest. But within those two biggest, there's lots of other ones. You know, decks and fences and all kinds of things. We give Bob the authority, the board gives Bob the authority to resolve and approve those projects in about 90% of the cases, I think. And he does that. So it doesn't take very long. You submit a project application, he'll go over it with you. Our charter to, the board's charter to Bob and to the committee, of which at least two of our directors sit on, is let's find a way to approve this. We'll work with you. We'll say, hey, don't do it this way, but do it this way. Only in the rare case, you know, you want to build a shed on your property that's 30 by 60 feet and 12 feet tall, we're probably going to say no. No, we're not probably going to say no, we're going to say no. Okay, so we try to work with you on that. Next slide. Maybe? Next slide? No? Okay. There'll be some pictures, but this is what we've done and continue to do in common areas. We spend a fair amount of money in trying to improve and maintain common areas. We mow it, we treat it for noxious weeds, we put in trails, we do wildfire mitigation on them, remove scrub oak, remove dead trees. It's a pretty big job. Next slide. We've been fortunate to work with our scouts. They install picnic tables for us. Very nice thing to do, Eagle Scout projects. I'll show you a picture of what we recently did in the Meadows, which is kind of down where I live. Has nothing to do with the fact that I happen to live on Augusta, that they decided to do the Meadows. We've done, Bob does a great job of maintaining this barn, your barn, with landscaping, the fountain that's on when it's warm, flowers. And we also completed, because we built that new addition a couple years ago, we had to complete the landscaping on that. Next slide. This is, there's two pictures here. There will be two pictures. This is the trail that we installed from the edge of Augusta Drive all the way up the Meadows, almost to Wild Duck Pond. We had, a year ago, I think, installed a trail in the marsh. We will continue to install trails wherever it makes sense on a phased basis, because we recognize that people like to use those common areas to walk their dogs, to walk themselves, to chase their kids, whatever. It's also the reason that we put up poop stations at the beginning of all those trails, and we pay a contractor to come and empty them on a regular basis. So, you know, and that's something that you all pay for, but we think it's very important because I'm also the president of the water board. I don't want the poop going downstream into the water supply. Next slide. That's higher up, I think. It's road base. They had to put in how many culverts? About 6 culverts to do that. So it's a nice trail. There was a plan to take the trail in a direction that I didn't think was very helpful, so we didn't do that. But we'll continue to do this in areas that we control. Next slide. And last year, we replaced the roof over that portico. Every 6 or 7 years, it was costing us, I don't know, $8,000 or $10,000 to fix it because it leaked like a sieve because it was flat. And we finally decided to spend the money and fix it right one time. We did that. It's not noticeable. It's got the same peak roofs and everything else. So That's a project that we completed last year. We thought it was very important. And again, you know, a few years ago, we put in the bathroom up here so you didn't have to go downstairs to the bathroom. We think the fixing so we didn't get water down there where the people come in is an important thing to do. Next slide. Okay. The other thing that we've done, you know, there's a fair amount of interest, surprisingly so, as a result of the Marshall Fire. Go figure. 1,000 homes, poof, gone. So a lot of people are pretty excited about that. We've been on wildfire mitigation for quite some period of time. Ourselves, we've done a lot of mitigation in our common areas. We've given grants to residents to do mitigation, although we don't have all that much money. We've encouraged people with fire-wise inspections and the rest. And then Matthew was able to secure a grant for about $245,000 that lasts 3 to 5 years. It's a 50-50 matching grant. And the grant was targeted, next slide, I guess, along Woodmoor Drive to create a defensible corridor along Woodmoor Drive. That was the very first thing that we decided we'd do. That's why they gave us the grant. We're a fair amount of the way through that project. I think we've reimbursed
about $50,000.
About $50,000 out of the 245. We've tried to get in contact with every one of those folks that could possibly benefit from this. I know you'll be very surprised at this, but some of the folks you can lead to water, but you can't make them drink. So we're going to open that up to other Woodmoor residents to mitigate your property. And we'll match the funds that you expend 50-50 from the state. You'll get a check from us is what you actually do to do that wildfire mitigation. I'd also be remiss by not saying that, you know, the weather a couple weeks ago was really terrible, but we did a wildfire mitigation presentation at the Mennonite Church in Kings Deer. Mennonite?
That's Charlie's Methodist.
Okay, Methodist. That's close. Okay, so we did that. I know it's online at the Methodist Church website. I believe it's either is or will be online on our website. So if you want to see what was presented, I encourage you to do that. There's some tips about, you know, how far away do I need to limb my trees? How far away do I need to rake my pine needles? Should I take up all my pine needles, not all of my pine needles, and the rest? So I encourage you to do that. Okay, next. Okay, and we don't feel very comfortable in asking our residents to do a whole lot of mitigation unless we do it ourselves. So on the next slide, you'll see before and after. And the lesson here, I think, is if your yard looks like the before, it'd be real helpful if you'd make it look like the after. Next slide. So there's the before, and there's the after. You know, I got it in my yard. Scrub oak, bad. Just bad. Catches fire, it's oily, burns like crazy. Okay, so we encourage you to get some professional help. Our guys will come out and help. We have some volunteers that will come out and help. Ed is, I think, probably going to be our new director of forestry, has vast experience in that area. So let us help you, help yourselves. Very truthfully, the fire guys have told us that if there's a significant fire in Woodmoor, we'll probably lose 1,000 homes. And they're only going to defend the ones that are defensible. So if your house is overgrown with weeds or scrub oak or whatever, they're probably going to drive by and go, "Nah, see you." So be forewarned. This is a good time to kind of renew that. Some of my good friends who I breakfast every Friday have said, you know, I've let this go for too long. I'm gonna fix this summer when it stops snowing. Right? I'm picking on you. All right, next slide. Okay, and this is what you get if you do that mitigation. Safety primarily, but aesthetics, wildlife. You'll have more deer come into your yard. I know. We have too many deer. We're not going to shoot them. Okay. Years ago, we had a lot of fox, then we had a lot of coyotes, then we have a lot of rabbits. Something will probably come along and take care of the deer like it came along and took care of all those guys. All right, next slide. To help you out, we do free chipping. Last year, we did 3 of them at Lewis Palmer High School. We listened to you, our residents, who said, hey, you do them always on Saturdays. You know, I'm busy on Saturdays. I got a kid who plays soccer, or I got to go shopping at Costco or whatever. So this year, we're going to pick 2 weekends. Those are the tentative dates anyway. And we're going to do it on a Saturday and a Sunday. This year, unlike last year and the years before, you're just going to pull up, dump your stuff, and drive away. And then we've hired a guy to come and scoop all that stuff up and put it in a grinder that's about half the size of this room. And he'll grind it all up and they'll take it away. So we're trying to improve that. It's free to Woodmoor Improvement Association members and residents. If somebody else comes by and they're not, we'll still take their stuff, but we'll ask them for about $10. And you know, if they don't have $10, we'll probably just take the stuff anyway. Don't publish that. Okay. That's true. That's true. We don't make a lot of money on that, but enough to buy water for our folks. Next slide. Okay. This is an important one. Never, 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 never are you allowed to have an open fire in Woodmoor or fireworks in Woodmoor. I don't care what the county says. I don't care what the state says. I don't care what Governor Polis says. Because of the tremendous fire danger, we simply don't allow. Several years ago, we raised the fine for an open fire to $5,000. We have imposed that fine a number of times. We've seen pretty much every excuse that you can get with, I didn't think it would be that bad. Really, the flames were shooting 30 feet in the air. It was that bad. Or, well, you know, it was the 4th of July, so you got to shoot off fireworks. No, you don't. Okay, so we're deadly serious about that. And if you're going to have a fire pit, that's okay. It's got to have the screen. It's got to be approved. If it's an in-ground fire pit, if it's one of the above ground, it doesn't have to be approved, but we still need to have a screen. And you cannot burn slash. You know, you've seen a commercial with Pomonalo and I can't remember who the Patrick Mahomes. Never, not working. Don't burn slash. Take it to the dump, put it in a bag, give it to the garbage guys, save it for chipping day. I don't care. If you burn slash, though, we will catch you. And just so you know, all these guys who were out there traveling the roads have body cameras that we bought for them. So when you say it wasn't that bad, we've got a video record of it. And it usually was. So please, that's my pitch, no open fires. Next slide. Okay. We solicit good neighbor awards. Y'all are a bunch of great neighbors, but you don't often put your fellow neighbors in for awards. One neighbor put in 2 neighbors for awards. And so we're going to reward both of those people, the Fingers and the Quattlebaums. And we're going to send them a letter. And we're going to enclose a little gift card and thank them for what they did for their neighbor, which was to look out for their neighbor's house for about 6 months. Take in packages, not kill plants. Look at the security, make sure the water was not running and all those kinds of things, okay? So for next year, if you've got somebody who did you a really good turn, like, you know, we had 80 inches of snow and they snow blowed your driveway, feel free to put them in. We like recognizing those people for what they did. That's what makes this community what it is for a candidate. All right, next slide. Maybe. That's it? Okay, we don't have the question slide? All right, I'm done. I promised you I wouldn't read all the slides. I mostly didn't honor my promise, but are there any questions by any member of this group before we get to any member who's on Zoom? Cindy?
Is there any regulations for like those propane fireplaces that are real popular now?
No, they're kind of like a barbecue grill. So they don't have to have a cover. And, yeah. Okay.
I just want to clarify, under no stage, fire bans or stage 1, they're fine, but under stage 2, they're not allowed. And the fire bans come from the county. So if we're under a stage 2 fire ban, then no, propane fire pits are not allowed.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the theory is that you can just reach over and turn the propane off and the flame goes immediately away. If you've got something that's burning wood or slash or cardboard or something else, unless you put it out with a hose, good luck on that. So, any other question? Yes, ma'am.
I haven't looked into this, I should have, but do you all allow the RPOs?
We do.
You're allowing that?
Our covenants do not allow us to prohibit Airbnbs or VRBOs. We thought about changing our covenants. Well, guess what? We'd have to have something on the order of about 2,200 people vote on our covenants. The chance of that happening? 0. But what do we do instead? We do the same thing we do with businesses out of the house. We require them to apply for our approval. We have some requirements for them to notify their people that they're renting to about our rules, regulations, and covenants. And if there's a problem with their neighbors, parking, noise, whatever, the board will step in and take action as a covenant violation. It's creating a nuisance, okay? Very candidly, we've had or have probably about 10 or 11. Now, that was before the pandemic. I don't know what happened to Airbnbs or VRBOs during the pandemic, but I'm guessing everybody else stayed home, so they probably didn't rent out their house. But very truthfully, we had just one problem, and that was resolved. The rest of the people are really good citizens. And, you know, I'm not sure that it would be a great idea to prohibit that even if we could. You know, I mean, where do you draw the line? You've got Air Force Academy parents coming in to go to a football game or spend a week for their kid's graduation or whatever, and you rent out your house. So far, luckily, we haven't had the problems. But no, we don't have the power under our covenants to prohibit that. We just regulate it. Okay. Ma'am.
My husband literally cut down 33 trees himself. We have stacks of wood. Michael passed away in August. We have stacks of wood that need to be carried away. Do you provide any kind of service to remove nicely cut wood
Well,
that anyone can have?
I have 2 ideas.
Yeah, well, you know, you're saying mitigating, and now I'm left with stacks and stacks of nicely cut
Okay. Well,
wood that I would like to, we brought it up to our place up in the mountains that we sold that, so now I have stacks and stacks of wood
okay.
anyone can have.
Don't light it on fire. Okay.
Well, no,
That's a no good. But
someone
I would,
don't like to strike or anything like that.
I don't know if you're a member of Next Door Woodmoor, but if you put on, come get free wood, I'm guessing some people will show up and take the free wood. So, you know, if you want to charge for it, it might be a different, but Next Door people are real big on taking things that are free. So.
After the meeting, let me give you my business card. I have a couple of residents that are looking for wood.
Okay.
I could probably connect her, but she could give it to Woodmoor.
Bob's got a solution to every problem, so I should have asked him first, no matter what. Thanks. Any other questions, sir?
Yeah, how many households are actually in the association?
$3,070 right now.
3,070. And we have currently six sub-associations, like the Cove next door. And we're going to have 7 because of the dunes, or not the dunes, the beach, the one about Woodmoor. And then we'll probably have 8, maybe, because Cloverleaf will be a metro district with a board, but they'll be under our authority because they're going to have to abide by our covenants. They may have a separate set of covenants, they may have a separate set of rules, they may have a separate set of PDSM, but so we have 6 to be 7 to be 8 sub-associations and 3,000 houses. So if you want to know, we have 4 staff, okay, and the WPS people are there to help you, not necessarily rat on you. So we tried, unless it's really, really important, like you're trying to burn down the forest, we ask them not to rat on you. But we've only got 4 staff, and they have lots of other things to do, which is why much of our covenant enforcement comes from good-hearted neighbors pointing out that there is something amiss. Okay, now, I will tell you, and the people at home on Zoom, this board is smart enough, I'm not, but this board is smart enough to figure out if you're trying to weaponize our covenants against your neighbors. And at some point in time, we'll step in and go, no, nope, not going to do that. But if you're just being genuine and trying to point out something that, hey, the grass on this side of my house is 20 feet tall, and if it catches on fire, it's going to burn my house down because it's blowing from the west, we'll take action. So that's why we do.
I just wanted to say one more thing too, and I think this is a really cute story. We built our home in 1984. Our kids were 4.5 and 6. They are now 42 and 44. The generation is coming back. It is really cute because they wanted to get out of Motown, as they called it, when they graduated from Woodmoor High School. Couldn't wait to get out of Motown. Now their parents, in their 40s, having their kids going off to college, and many of them are looking forward to moving back and it's interesting to see lots of young families, you know, with kids on bicycles and pushing strollers and things like that. But my main thing for saying this is that I look around the room and there are no young people here. I mean, yes, younger than me, yes, but not that young.
They're all on Zoom, hopefully.
How do we get them knowing that it's important? Because a lot of them coming back in, they love all the trees and they love the scrub oaks, and they're building the forts with their kids, just like we did for our kids. So I think it's real important for them to kind of get the impression or get the idea that it's important to mitigate and cut down the scrub oaks. Those are huge and ugly.
Well, for those of you who don't know, with the exception of potential common area that is probably going to be donated to us in South Woodmoor, about 65 acres. There's not a square inch that I'm aware of that's not going to be developed, from county line to Higbee to Baptist. Not a square inch. There's a plan on for every one of those open areas. I've seen many of the plans, not in this capacity, but in a different capacity. So, and just one thing, and you have a 42-year-old and a 44-year-old kid, and you haven't gone to them and said, "Excuse me, I raised you. See that wood? Get rid of that wood." UPS will ship wood, I'm sure. Sir.
Just raised the point that I think that many of us are concerned with is the construction that's already started, and how is that going to affect our roads, and other facilities? I'm especially concerned about I don't know how many more people on the roads. We're in South Woodmoor over off Caribou, and but our problems are the same as many of yours. Has there been any planning, talking with the county, the state, on widening any of the roads?
Yeah, I could lie to you and say it's all going to turn out great, kind of like the Monument Charter Academy on 105 at 7 o'clock in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon. Great plan. The answer is yes, but, okay. I mean, I moved here 20 years ago. You could drive up 105 from the interstate to my turn on Lake Woodmoor, and it was great. Now we're just getting stoplight after stoplight after stoplight. Cloverleaf is a separate issue, and that was a deal that was made to get the open space in addition to Cloverleaf. But Monument Junction 1 and 2, which is going to go along either side of Jackson Creek between the Y and 105. We can argue about how many houses are going to go in there, but they're in the hundreds, okay? Single family, multifamily, commercial. I'm told that part of that deal is they will widen Jackson Creek from where it is now at Higbee to 105. My comment to that is, so what? You'll just have a bazillion more cars trying to turn one direction or the other on 105. I don't know what the solution is.
Yes, what about 105? What about Higbee?
There's no plan that I'm aware of to increase the size of Higbee. There is a plan, a phased plan by the county to redo 105. Phase 1 is from basically Knollwood to Briarhaven, which is the top of that little hill. And then the next one is probably to Furrow or maybe Roller Coaster, and the next one takes it out. Again, because of my other hat, we monitor that very closely, because when they want to build a new road, what do? They come along the water guys and say, hey, move the damn sewer, move the water lines, whatever.
That's another thing that comes to mind. Are we going to have enough water to support it?
Yeah, I get that question every year. I love it. I knew I could get it. The answer is yes. Okay, we have enough water to service everybody who wants to build a house here. And as you know, we bought that $28 million ranch down there with 3,000 acre feet of water, and we're going to find a way to get that water up here. Studies are ongoing. And once that water comes in, we won't have to rely on wells. So what you see right now is a whole bunch of construction going on to take fresh water from the creek, from the drainage, and send it to the central water treatment plant, as well as to the south water treatment plant from Lake Woodmoor. That's all that construction that's going on and interferes with your life. So the answer is yes.
The last thing that I would say is I've seen communities that end up chasing their tail. They build all the homes and get all the people, get all the traffic, get all the stuff. And they got a plan, but that plan is down the road a little bit. Then every now and then you run across a community that is on the forward edge. They're building they're widening the roads, they're building the additional roads, and they're ahead of the game on it. And
there's some of that goes on. Candidly, the county doesn't have squat for dollars to maintain the roads that we have. Every year, Kevin goes out and surveys all the roads in Woodmoor and gives a report to the county and says, these are the worst. And the county goes, yeah, okay. And then they do what they want to do. The one that I'm aware of is, you probably are as well, Grandview Estates. The developer is required and is in the process of extending Furrow Road from 105 to Higbee, to kind of take some of that traffic off of Fairplay, we would hope, okay? You can probably imagine that the people who live along Furrow Drive are not overly thrilled with that. They didn't stop it, but they tried to get the county to put in traffic calming measures. We're working with them, but it's,
don't get too far. My comment is don't get too far behind the eight ball.
Yeah, okay. So, one more anecdote and then I'll quit. The solution to the Charter Academy is, I've been told, they're going to put a traffic circle right in front of the Integrity Bank. And then they're going to make a loop behind the building so people can drive in, go around the loop, not use the Mormon church parking lot, and come back out the same way. Won't that be fun? So, you know,
Well, you're thinking about it, you're doing what you can. That's
we're
all anybody.
we're a member of NEPCO. NEPCO provides input to the county on that on a regular basis on all of these developments. I just talked to the NEPCO guy and said, you know, he said, give me a central point in Woodmoor and I'll draw a circle a mile and I'll notify you of anything that's going on with a mile. To which my comment was, dude, my boundaries are way over a mile in any direction. How about making it 3 miles? They said, okay. Okay, any other questions here? Sir? Okay. Sir?
Yeah, South Woodmoor, done by rabbits. They're killing our trees or they're doing up with the shrubs, you know, the other morning there was 10 of them in our front yard.
Yep.
And there's no box.
Well, you know what?
We got a dog.
We have, so the news report is that there's some disease going around in rabbits that's going to kill about 80% of them. In the meantime, maybe you can train your deer, of which there are too many, to stomp on the rabbits.
Can we shoot them?
No, you cannot shoot
What
them.
can you do to them?
You can trap them.
Oh, yeah, I got 2 traps. They're sitting on the shit.
You know, they're like pocket gophers. They're like bulls. Eventually, their time will come and they will depart,
In the meantime,
but not anytime soon. I mean, we live in a wild area, so we have bears and we have mountain lions and we have deer and we have turkeys and we have, you know, all those other things, and we have rabbits. And I agree with you. So I don't know. I have no solution for you, and I don't think anybody of these guys does either. So, and none of us particularly like rabbit stew, so I'm sorry. Okay. Any Zoom questions? Oh, wait.
Sponsoring family event days.
We used to have a picnic in the summer. Now remember, we have 3,000 homes. We have explored the possibility of doing something with the club at the pool. The last time we did that, and I'm a member of the club, but they wanted an arm and a leg and 3 toes for what we wanted to do. So we are interested in that. Obviously, the last 2 years have just prevented consideration of anything like that. So if we ever get back to normal, whatever that is, yes, that's something that we are interested in doing. Okay. All right. Any Zoom questions? Take off your mask or I'll never hear you.
How do residents apply for grants for wildfire?
How do they apply?
Yeah.
See Matthew Nelson. Come by the office, see Matthew Nelson, send a note to matthew@woodmoor.org, and he will be glad to give you all the information that you ever wanted to have, plus $3. Paid political advisor.
Alrighty. What should residents do if they are curious about getting the wildfire lot evaluation or volunteering or getting involved?
See Matthew Nelson. Matthew@woodmoor.org. And a pitch there, by the way. You know, we put out a newsletter 4 times a year. We mail the one in December. I don't think we're going to do that again. It's just too darn expensive. It wastes your money. So we're going to put it online, and you can look at it there. I plead with people to sign up for eBlast. About 60% of our residents are on eBlast. We don't sell it. We don't disseminate it. But if there is a fire, if there's something that you need to know, like, hey, Woodmoor Drive is going to be closed for a week during Christmas, that's how we get the information out. Or if there's going to be a wildfire mitigation seminar hosted by Matthew, that's how we get the information out. So if you haven't signed up for it, I can't encourage you enough. Matthew. That it?
That's it.
Wow, you didn't really have those questions. You typed those in yourself. All right, all right. All right, well, in closing,
There's a gentleman in a monument by the name of Matt Henfield. I've used him more than once. Animal Movers is the name of his organization, and he woodpeckers and other animal, any animal from your property. It's not free, but that's what it's for.
okay.
Matt Henfield is.
If you would give that information to Bob, we would greatly appreciate that. And we'll, you know, we don't advertise commercial establishments. We don't sponsor commercial establishments. We don't vouch for commercial establishments. We're happy to pass on information. We have a whole rack of cards out there of people who do good things. And if we find that somebody hasn't done what we expected that they would, their card is removed. We don't let anybody know that they actually do that kind of work. So, okay. Thank you all. I apologize. We've probably taken a little longer, but I apologize. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming to the annual meeting. You're always welcome to come to the formal board meetings on the last Wednesday of the month. And if you want to light somebody up, Denise at woodmoor.org, president at woodmoor.org, or my really good preference is vice president at woodmoor.org. He loves to respond to these. Okay. The meeting is, did I do anything else?
It's the president, not vice president.
Huh?
Oh, yeah. Be president or vice president.
Okay. Are we done? Are we done? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Since you know about water, what's going on with the water line work over here?